Hey everyone, it's Matt, aka Tech Ranger, and today we're going to be taking a look at Valheim, a new game for the channel, but one that's actually been out for quite a while, and now it's on Game Pass. You can download it for free on there if you subscribe to Game Pass, or you can buy it outright. I wanted to make this video for those of you who are interested in the game but don't really know how to start it, so I wanted to go over how to create your world, just the basics of the game, as well as how to make your first base in order to fight the first boss. If you're familiar with Skyrim and Fallout and those RPG systems, and you like survival games, you might like this game as well. There's a lot of different games kind of all rolled up into one in this one. I like to think of it as a mix between old school RuneScape, Minecraft, and Vikings. In this video, we're going to go over some basic game systems, how to play the game, and to get the most out of your start. And if you get some value out of this video, if you like how I break things down here on the channel, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe if you want to see more Valheim content or just more content from me in general. So with all of that out of the way, let's look at how to start your game on Valheim on the Xbox and not just be chopping down trees and fighting Grey Dwarfs. Valheim is a third-person survival game. You play as a Viking who's basically died and gone to, think of it like Viking purgatory to an extent. You're placed on a procedurally generated map. So every time you create a new character, you're going to have a new map. There'll be different biomes on the map, but the same ones will be there, just in different spots, depending on the world that you create. If you're playing on the Xbox Series consoles, I would go to the options first when you start up the game and go over to performance mode under graphics. Now this isn't going to be a solid 60 frames per second, but it is going to be a smoother experience, so I would highly recommend it. You can turn the options on and off here depending on what you like in a game. Sun shafts in this game are kind of like God rays, so you can turn those off. Accessibility wise, I always turn off motion blur, and you definitely don't want any camera shake. So you can click on start game and then press Y, and then you'll go to the character creation screen. You can make your character however you want here. You can create a server here, but for most people, you're just going to want to start a game. You can always turn your game into a server at a later date if you have friends that want to join in. You'll start the game and there'll be a little bit of a backstory filling you in on who you are and what's going on. Where you are is important to the game story, but we'll get to that later. One of the things you're going to want to pay attention to very early on is your health, and these three little boxes next to it with the little fork underneath it. Those slots are for food, and that's what's going to give you stamina in this game as well as health. Side note, these little icons next to the food item that you pick up will determine how much stamina or health you'll get, or if it's good either or. Eventually there's better food that you can make, and there's different combos, but that's for another video. You can open your inventory, and if you see over to the right, you're going to see a crafting option. You don't have anything yet because you don't have any recipes. Once you pick up stuff, you're going to have 4 recipes that you're going to want to look at, because those items are what's going to get you started in Valheim. Alright, so we are going to pick up this little branch here, and we're going to get some wood. And as you can see, we've got wood, and then we got a club recipe. So now you pick up a stone. We have a stone axe that we can make. Open up your inventory, see what you need. Press the right bumper to go over to the crafting spot, and then go look at your stone axe. What do you need for that? If you die, you lose stats in this game. And then the hammer is what you're going to use to actually create things with a workbench, which you can only craft with this hammer. My suggestion here would be to stray out not too far, but to go and get some general resources. Just pick up everything. Berries for food. You can pick up rocks to create that axe, and then punch some trees to get wood. You can just pick up branches like we did earlier, but this is actually a faster route. But doing it this way will also teach you that you need to be eating food to increase your stamina bar. Once you're done gathering some basic resources, go ahead and make yourself an axe, a club, and a hammer. And a torch if you plan on running around at nighttime, because there is a day and night cycle in this game. Now I run back to this starting area here, and as you can see in the top of our inventory here, that is our hotbar. This is something that we're always going to have available to us when we're running around in the world. To use something in your hotbar, you just select it by going left or right with your D-pad, and then you press up on the D-pad in order to use it. If it's a weapon, you'll equip it. If it's food, you'll eat it. Now this is where it gets pretty fun. So now go back to this original area here, click on this stone. It's going to register the location of the first boss. And if you read the tablet next to it, it's going to give you a hint as to what you need to be looking for in order to summon this boss. So there's these little sacrificial tables at each of these boss locations. Usually you will need to present 2 trophies to it to actually summon the boss. Before we get near the boss location, let's take a look at one more thing before we head out. You can repair what you've already made at a crafting bench, and this is going to allow you to do some other things once you actually make it. But for right now, let's select that crafting bench from the crafting menu once you have your hammer out, and then go into the build menu. One thing that you'll probably see on most Valheim channels is this little thing where you enclose it by just building a regular wood wall around it, and then build a 45-degree roof over just the back two pieces. Everything will connect together as long as it's close enough. You want to build the walls on the left and right very close to the bench, and then it should snap into place when you're doing the back as well as those two pieces of roof. All in all, this is going to cost you around 12 to 14 wood depending on how you do it, and then this should be enough to cover the workbench so you can repair your axe if you broke it. When you're out exploring and you need to repair something, it's easy to build like a quick workbench, build a little covering for it, and then repair whatever you need repaired. And now we need to build just a little base, nothing crazy, just to get some materials and store it, and then be close enough to the boss. So you're going to want to pull up your map with this view button here, see where Ether is. We're going to maybe get somewhere around here. You can add a pin by pressing A in this game. You can make a little base right here. You can actually change the icons as well. So you see kind of on the right there, you can go, there's a little fire. So that would be like if you made a little outpost. You can go down here on the D-pad and then choose this little house if it's a base. This if it's a cave or other landmark that you want to mark. One thing in this game that will play in your favor are these little huts or abandoned huts that you might find across the meadows, the starting area that you're in. Having something like this close would be something that you might want to take advantage of rather than using a bunch of resources and building your own. But in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to find a spot that's close to where the boss is, and then we're going to build a little base, nothing crazy, get a chest down, and then a bed, set a spawn point. That way we're better prepared for the boss fight before it happens. So find a spot, start clearing some land with the hoe, and this is going to clear the area a little bit so we can actually place down a bed and a fire pretty easily. In order to use this, you just want to go ahead and select the hoe from your hotbar, which should already be there, and it'll go automatically to the level ground option. You're going to want to clear the area a little bit, and this means we're going to get some clear area here so we can actually place some stuff down, but it is going to use your stamina, so you don't want to go too crazy, just little bits at a time, just to clear a general area, and then that way you'll have some flat ground to actually start building. It might be dark out like it was in my game, so at this point you want to start building a fire. One of the things I like to do is build these little wood beams around it, and this is going to keep us from walking into the fire, because fire in this game, well, it's going to give you damage over time. Build these wood poles up. There we go, we got our fire.
2 hours later.
What I ended up doing was build a couple more poles on top of where I did right here, and then I built one of these 45-degree roofs, and then this is going to allow us to have some ventilation for our fire. If you don't have some ventilation, that smoke you see, that's actually going to kill you slowly. So when I did that, I went ahead and started building these 45-degree roofs, and then I have just a regular wall because that's how I built my initial crafting bench. So I just built that out, and then I used these 45-degree angle walls to act as supports for the actual building. Now, one thing you might run into is when you have a rock like this that you can't really do anything about. See how the ground is uneven there? That's okay, because you can actually still use it to your advantage. So if I take out my hammer, got my wood wall selected, I can still snap it into place. And as you can see here, we've used a lot of materials just to build this little house, so you don't have to go as crazy as this. And we finish the roof here. These are 45-degree roofs. And that piece is red, but once we connect this, it should be okay. Yeah, see, now it's green. Always helps to have the foundation of the house first. Kind of went about that a different way, but now that you see that part of it, hopefully that helps you if you're building a house in the future. That way you can start with your foundation and then work from there. We just kind of went about it from building the fire and then building out.
2 hours later.
And voila, now we've got ourselves a little house. I ended up doing something a little bit different on the back. The idea eventually would be to expand this back out, and then once we can make some more crafting things, we can expand this house and make a bigger one. And then if not, well, we've got a nice little outpost that's not in a bad spot. Now when you actually make a base like this and you have a bed in it, it's actually going to mark the bed right there. So you can go ahead and mark it as your base if you would like. I went ahead and selected that house icon there and then added a pin. We're not that far from the boss, so when it's time, we don't have far to run. So now, I made a few chests here, and then that way we can start transferring stuff that we don't really need on us. These beech seeds, these are used to grow trees. We don't really need that just yet. Leather scraps, these are actually from killing boars, and we need those in order to get enough materials to build a bow, which we're going to need to kill deer, which we're then going to need to fight the boss, because we're going to need to sacrifice 2 deer trophies for that. So one thing you can do is come over to your workbench, see what you need in order to make a bow. And as you can see, we've actually already got enough leather scraps, but if you don't, try to run around the boss area in the forest. I came across this clearing here and found a bunch of boar as well as the stone. The stone is going to tell us that there are boar around, but obviously we already see a bunch of boar, so we know we're in the right spot. Since there's a lot around, you might want to crouch by pressing the right stick down, and this will drain your stamina, but if there's a bunch of boar around, maybe you can actually get one to run away from the others, and then take that out without alerting the others. This will net you some leather scraps, but then also drop some boar meat. Boar meat is one of those items that you can eat for health, and this is going to help you in the final boss fight, so you're going to want to go back to your base and cook those. And we can actually go ahead and start cooking some food, but in order to do that, we actually need a cooking station. In the cooking station, I usually try to build 3 over 1 fire here. You can actually do 4, but this way it won't get too crowded and we can cook quite a bit of food at it. Whenever you want to cook some food, you just press X, and then whatever you have in your inventory will automatically get put there. It's going to start cooking, and we'll just start with these 2, but you want to keep an eye on it. Once you hear the sound, you're going to want to take these off. Otherwise, it'll turn into coal, which has its own use as well, but you want the food. That's a little bit more useful this early game. Now, in order to go deer hunting, we're going to need some wood arrows, so you're going to want to make some of those. If you don't have some already, just requires wood, and you get 20 of them. So you can actually listen out for deer. They're going to make these noises, but I spotted one, and the best thing to do here would be to sneak up on it. You want to draw your bow with RB, and then just aim slightly up. And then you should be able to hit it. Usually it's like slightly up and then over to the right. And the further you're away, you're going to have to arc it a little bit more. You can see what the deer gave us. Actually gave us 2 deer meat, which we can also go back and cook. Also good for food. Now, not every deer is going to give you a deer trophy, so you might have to hunt quite a few. But you're also getting deer hide, which is actually going to be helpful for making armor. But we'll look at that when we do a video on fighting the first boss. After some more hunting, yeah, we're all set. We've got our 2nd deer trophy now. We can safely put this in our chest for later. And in the next video, we're actually going to take a look at how to defeat the first boss. We're going to make some armor, then we're going to go get some more resources so we are ready to fight. And that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you all have learned a few things about Valheim that you may not have known already. I know Valheim can be a little intimidating at first, but really once you get into it, it's a lot of fun, and I've been playing a ton of it. So if you guys want to see more of this stuff, let me know in the comments down below. I love to do some like how-to videos on Valheim. There's a lot to it, and the devs seem to be updating the game pretty regularly while it's in game preview. So thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.